Today, get the most out of your Wi-Fi with a brand new kind of bandwidth performance management. My guest today is David Giannini of CirrusWorks. Join us right after this short message. All right, welcome back, everybody. My name is Claus Hetting, and I'm the host of Wi-Fi Now TV. This is the interview program that brings you all the great people and all the great stories from the Wi-Fi industry. And before I do anything else, I just want to show you how hard we're working for the Wi-Fi industry. You see this? This is scripts from 58 episodes of Wi-Fi Now TV. I actually just noticed today that I hadn't cleaned those apps. So that's how hard we're working for the Wi-Fi industry. And we're having a great time doing it. And we have a great show for you today. So today, we will be discussing innovations in bandwidth management for Wi-Fi with newcomer CirrusWorks. And we've talked about a lot of things on this show. And actually, I don't think we've covered ever this topic. So it's exciting because the folks at CirrusWorks have invented a whole new way of managing bandwidth for Wi-Fi that does not involve DPI. And my guest, David Giannini, is going to tell us all about that in just a moment. So before I do that, I want to make sure that you know that we're taking Wi-Fi Now, the Expo and Conference, to Washington, D.C. this April 18th to 20th. We were there last year, and we had a great time. It was a great show. And we're taking it back to D.C. in 2.5 months' time, I think. We're already open for business, so you can reserve your ticket today to attend. And if you're interested in exhibiting or some other role at Wi-Fi Now DC, you better be quick because we're filling up fast, and lots and lots of companies interested already. So for all the details, go to wifinowevents.com/USA. And if you have any questions, drop me a line at my email, of course, Klaus@wifinowevents.com. That's my email. Always great if you'd like to give some feedback and tell me your comments and all of that. So that's it for my intro. Now, here's a company changing the way Wi-Fi bandwidth is managed. And the company is called CirrusWorks. And my guest today is CEO of CirrusWorks, David Giannini. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Klaus. Good to be here.
Good to see you. And David, let's get into the thick of what it means to manage Wi-Fi bandwidth the way that you do it. But actually, just before we get into that, just tell us a little bit about CirrusWorks, the history of the company, perhaps.
Sure. It really is best to give the story of how it was conceived. It came out of necessity. The engineering team here at CirrusWorks, previously we had built a company that provided Wi-Fi networks for hotels and hospitality worldwide. Our company was started here in Northern Virginia, outside of DC, and eventually became Swisscom North America. We were purchased by the Swiss and ended up running hotel networks in 5 different continents. Before that, building wireless and terrestrial networks for the financial services industry. Why it's important and what's exciting about now is really this sort of triple storm of data proliferation you see out there. A combination of more devices, more streaming video than ever before, and it's all encrypted. And all those 3 elements render previous performance management tools almost obsolete. What we've come up with is a series of mathematical algorithms that can provide performance management at the edge of a network and fully operate on encrypted traffic. So it's very exciting. It's something new. It's something relevant. And anyone who's ever had bad Wi-Fi in a crowded network, which is virtually everyone, could use this product.
Right. So very cool indeed. So this is generally applicable basically to every segment, I imagine, right? Because it's a fundamental function, or could be, for any kind of Wi-Fi enterprise or carrier or anything out there, I assume. But can you go just a little bit deeper on the technology before we get into the use cases? Because I understand it is fundamentally different from DPI and other methods of it.
It is, and one thing is it resides at the edge. So the device, or at least some part of the device, we can bifurcate it into the cloud, has to sit truly at the edge of a network, so on a local area network. When you think of Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi is very local. It has a small extension of typically 300 feet, It also operates what we perform on any terrestrial or Wi-Fi. We don't really care, it's just data. But it's important to know it operates at the edge of a network. Second thing, we are really agnostic to any application or protocol. We look at all data as data. We're looking at it mathematically at the volumes of data bidirectionally in the internet. So as you see content-defined networks and software-defined networks, we actually accommodate those kind of new architectures very well. And lastly, I mentioned encryption. Encryption renders traffic shaping very difficult, and in many cases, almost impossible. Traditional tools are what's called deep packet inspection, and that's been around for decades. Engineers would use a series of not just algorithms, but really tools to go inside the application layer of a packet, understand which application is flowing, and assign priorities. So you could say, well, those guys are bad guys, those are hogging up all the bandwidth, let's deprioritize them. 10 years ago, that worked very well. A lot of us say YouTube or even bit streaming. Today, virtually everything's streaming, everything's heavy, and because it's encrypted, you really cannot go inside the packet any longer. So having a performance engine that just works on the mathematical volumes, sits at the edge, and controls bandwidth allocation among devices in a busy network is a very unique way of going about sorting and basically getting the most efficiency out of your circuit.
So in terms of encrypted traffic, I mean, do you have a figure on how much encrypted traffic is out there at this time?
Yeah, I mean, 5 years ago, it was less than 50%. I think 2 years ago, it passed 80%. Currently in 2017, it's anticipated that in excess of 95% of all traffic will be encrypted. But I would go so far as to say it's a national, in fact, a global mandate that all traffic should be and will be encrypted, not only for the safety of the individual user, but also the enterprises and the content itself. So the vast trend here is that virtually 100% of traffic will be encrypted or should be encrypted. And what's even more amazing as a statistic is Cisco is estimating now that in 2018, over 70% of all traffic during peak load periods will be video streaming. And video streaming is very heavy, and it's actually less a stream and more of a tidal wave. So this is something that's very difficult to manage at the local level. And again, it's where the CirrusWorks tools come to play.
So does the problem that you're solving also have something to do with the number of devices and the types of devices that are commonly in use?
You know, the proliferation of devices just definitely contributes to the congestion, but it has more to do with the number of applications and the variables among the applications. It used to be just 10 years ago, and certainly 20, 30 years ago, an IT administrator knew all the devices, all the applications, and all the people on the network, and was able to assign priorities according to that. Today, fast forward to 2017 with BYOD, convergence, the Internet of Things, and because it's all encrypted, virtually every device is invisible. You just see the device, either the IP address or MAC address. You don't know what the application is. You don't know where they're going because of CDN, but you see massive congestion because of the exponential growth in volumes of data. So this is a very difficult scenario for traditional tools. And getting to that, you know, what is the focus? It's really per device, not per application or bit stream.
Okay, so any Wi-Fi service essentially would benefit from this, right? Any service that's actually being used. But can you get us some more details on what segments you're working with? Because obviously your pedigree, as you just told us, is with the hospitality industry from Swisscom and so on. But there's a lot of other things out there, right?
Well, it sure is. And we looked at this, and you know, to forgive me for my aspirations, but we see this as like a Dolby sound for local networks. So really this should be on every device and every network everywhere, smoothing out those traffics and enabling better, faster, smarter connections. But where do you start? Okay, as an early stage company, you say, where are the biggest pain points? Any public facing Wi-Fi network where the users are open and unknown and uncontrollable. So we started in hospitality. Today, we're working with the likes of Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, and several other brands. We're certified in Marriott International, and working with the integrators in bringing this technology to the hotels. Education, both K through 12 education and higher education, just something everyone can relate to. A sweet spot is dorms. So the resident networks at dorms and college campuses, we get as many as 25,000 simultaneous devices hitting that network every night. And it's multi-gig campus networks. There's no amount of bandwidth that can satiate this demand, but our device is able to smooth that out, not just provide a better quality of service for all the participants, but also keep it from disrupting the rest of the campus network. Remote locations, so satellite communications, remote education, transportation, we're in a lot of truck stops, retail, anywhere public-facing Wi-Fi is accommodating a known and growing, somewhat hostile user group. And frankly, that's coming to be everywhere you go, there's a hotspot.
That's a great answer. I need to ask you a little bit more about the numbers, because performance improvements obviously are the result of what you're doing, but you have some figures to back that up.
You know, we look at qualitative and quantitative. And in a quality of service, it's always tough to quantitate it, but let's talk with quantitative first. We actually take a look at the level of governance that we're engaging a user population during peak load periods. And that population could be 100 devices at a rural truck stop in West Texas, or it could be 10,000 devices at a busy dorm in a college campus in Virginia. And in every case, it's generally about less than 5% of the known users are causing 95% of the congestion. And our device is able to identify those through some outlier analyses and very dynamically queue them and slow them down and then release them so they never use more than their fair share. What we're able to measure and correlate that is the amount of bandwidth recapture. So again, imagine big waves in an ocean. If we cut off the tops and fill in the bottoms, we generally bring in a highly congested network anywhere to 30 to 40% throughput efficiencies to that network. So that's the quantitative measure. The qualitative measure is very interesting. One is good Wi-Fi is very simple, right? It's either great or it sucks. And everybody's had both, okay? But companies like Marriott, you know, Wi-Fi is integral to the guest experience. And we've been installed in a residence in Marriott in Seattle over the entire course of 2016. And we looked at the guest internet satisfaction scores from 2016 versus 2015. And we raised those scores by over 25%. Wow. It's significant because in every other line item, you typically don't move it more than 2 or 3% per year. So that's the quantitative and the qualitative. And the rest really depends on the venue and the vertical. But we know this is people use it and they love it and it works.
Fantastic, and great to get some numbers to back this up. So there's obviously also somewhere in there a cost savings in that you can utilize your bandwidth better on your Wi-Fi network. But there's obviously also a cost of your components, your solution. How does that balance out?
Well, the cost is really a subscription model. So we look at this as network performance as a service, or we call it NPAS. Not that this industry needs another acronym, but there you have it. So the network performance as a service has a very low adoption. I mean, our cost typically is sub $1,000, and in great scale can be sub $100. And a monthly recurring fee that, again, is anywhere from the tens up to hundreds of dollars, but usually less than 20% of the total bandwidth cost of that enterprise. It's generally priced in that way. The cost savings are, we're not necessarily trying to get people to buy less bandwidth. They still need capacity. What we're trying to do is get them from buying too much. That is equated to building Main Street for the 4th of July parade. It's simply not necessary. And in public venues that have huge spikes in use during peak load periods, our device helps them accommodate those usage requirements without having to buy surplus bandwidth. So deferred cost savings in terms of bandwidth acquisition, much improved cost savings in terms of on-site infrastructure utilization, and lastly, support. We have multiple venues like truck stops and universities where our device goes in and the complaints stop overnight. very quickly. And that's a big load on the IT staff.
Mm-hmm. I can think of so many use cases, David, for this. And as you said, it's pretty much anything, especially the public-facing enterprise side. Tell us a little bit about what your plans are, for growing the company. Are you working on a channel sales model or looking for partners or anything like that?
So we are looking for partners. Our intellectual property is software. And we currently put that software in a lightweight network appliance because some vertical industries like education, hospitality, they want a box and we fit off the stack. But we've designed our software to port over to any Linux-based platform. We could load it on an access point, a Blade server. We could load it on an iPhone if we had to. So we have the extent of our application is really unlimited. What we're doing right now is building our distribution and channel partner networks within some key industries: education, including K through 12 higher ed, hospitality, transportation, satellite communications, and then some select enterprises. Shared office space is a big one, for example. It's really a dorm for graduates, right? And you know, people hitting it. So we've spent the better part of 2014, 2015 building out the R&D, getting it commercially ready. 2016 building out proof of concepts and certification in certain states for education purposes and certain companies like Marriott. And 2017 is building out our partner network.
All right, so David, I want to ask you about one specific segment that's actually has been of great interest and still is to me, and that's on Wi-Fi offload or mobile carrier offload to Wi-Fi networks. And I know you have a strong stance and a strong solution on that. Would you like to tell us about it?
Well, thanks. It's interesting because it's so important to mobile users that their data works. And I don't care if you're a business person or you're one of my teenage kids, you've got to have that data. And what's interesting, it's no longer asymmetric. You're pushing and pulling data in both directions. So it's a tremendous load on the carrier networks. And the big move in the last several years is to move to small cell networks. It's basically the licensed spectrum is precious, and it's basically bought up. So how do we move to either Wi-Fi or DAS and facilitate all this data throughput? Well, our value proposition to that marketplace is a quality of service and even a cost savings, and particularly in your mobile data offload environment, your small cell environment. If we were to install a governor device at every small cell, what we ensure is better quality throughput for the user, lower cost in the backhaul cost for the operator and carrier, and most importantly, a higher quality experience, which is reduces churn and keeps people engaged on their mobile phones. And that's going to be a big part of our strategy going forward, is aligning with all the service providers and the operators in that small cell network build out that you're seeing, particularly in North America and Europe, but it really will cover the world.
And it's a hot thing, and it's definitely going to happen. I've been saying this for a long time, that this mobile offload or Wi-Fi offload, I should say, is bound to happen. And anything and everything we can do to improve the user experience is really good. So I thank you for that answer. I think it's a great answer. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really, if I may, one last thing. I said earlier that Wi-Fi enjoyment is binary. It's either good or it sucks. Well, likely also with your data offload, if you're offloaded from your cellular to some Wi-Fi network, whether it's private or run by your carrier, if it's poor, what do? You go back onto your licensed spectrum, and it defeats the entire strategy of data offload.
Yeah, exactly.
Better be good, or the carrier is putting their subscribers at risk, and they're going to experience more churn.
No, absolutely. So much potential in what you guys are doing, and I'm delighted to have you guys on here. And I should say, by the way, CirrusWorks is going to be at our Wi-Fi Now DC conference. I hope it's going to be you, but certainly I know there's going to be folks there, and there's going to be an expo booth where people can presumably experience what the solution is all about. And we're, of course, delighted to have you, David, as we are delighted to have you on this show. Some very high quality stuff there. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in DC.
Thank you, Klaus, and I'll see you in DC in a few weeks.
All right, thanks. All right, everybody, that's it for my show today. And I want to thank David Giannini from CirrusWorks for joining us. Next week I'm off, but I will be back soon with more great guests from the Wi-Fi world. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Wi-Fi Now is a production of RCR TV News. To suggest a show topic or to learn more about Wi-Fi Now events, you can reach Claus Hetting at klaus@hettingconsulting.com. To find out more about Wi-Fi Now and all things wireless, visit rcrwireless.com.